Hey guys, it's Lavetta.
And Miriam.
And this is Notorious Women Podcast, a comedy podcast about some of history's most notorious women.
Yes.
I don't care what you say, Miriam. I am a professional, and just because I forgot to hit record before starting.
Do you want me to remind you how to spell the word? I can.
We kid. She could do that to me. I deserve it because
very smart, which is why it's so funny.
Sometimes, I swear. But hey guys, and again, welcome to another episode of our fabulous comedy podcast about some of history's most notorious women. Season 3. Can you believe
I know,
we're
right?
in season 3?
No, I can't actually.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, without further ado, I think we should get started. And
Sounds
my
good.
dear, I believe you are first this week. So who?
Me.
You. Okay. Who's your notorious woman that you're going to tell me about this week?
Okay. So let me preface. Have you been to the Broad Museum? Preface meaning, let me ask you a question.
Absolutely.
Have you been to the Broad?
Yes,
okay.
I have.
I love it. Listen, I've never gone. Because I have children. Okay. Listen, LACMA does this thing where you get like a family membership for free if you have children. It's a whole thing. So we always go to LACMA. So
really?
Yeah. Like I'm
that.
cultured. Yeah. It's really cool. Yeah. So as long as so my poor children have to go to the art museum all the time. But the Broad turns out is actually free. I guess I could have been going there too. And I just, it's like a certain brand of almond milk, right? I just get the same brand because it's there. It's tasty,
Yeah.
But good friends of ours was like, hey, do you want to go with us to the Broad? We have tickets. These tickets were actually free. You just have to sign up for them to go see. I'm going to say her name. This is the name of the person. Yayoi Kusama, her special exhibit. And we were like, kids were with grandma. So we were like, yeah, let's go. You know what I mean? I don't ask questions. I just go. And while we were there, I was very, very inspired. And so today I'm going to talk about the life of Yayoi Kusama.
Ooh, I like this.
She's fascinating. So She was born on March 22nd, 1929 in Matsumo, Nagano, so in Japan. Her family, they were merchants. They owned a plant nursery and a seed farm. Now, she was artistic from a very early age, and her mother was not at all supportive of this. And so she tells about how she would have to finish her art very quickly so her mother wouldn't take it away. And her mother was also physically abusive.
Aww,
her father, her childhood is not cool. It's not cool.
Oh.
She remembers her father as, quote, I think this is a quote from her, the type who would play around, who would womanize a lot. So here's what happened in her childhood. Her mother would send her to spy on her father's affairs.
Don't do that to your children.
Listen, that's some bullshit parenting, okay? That's not parenting.
No.
Don't.
Your children should not be brought into your interpersonal relationships with your partner.
Nope. Daddy loves you.
Yeah.
He's made some mistakes. That doesn't have to do with you. Move it along.
Yeah, exactly.
So, unsurprisingly, this played a pretty big role in her lifelong contempt for sexuality in general. She says, quote, I don't like sex. I had an obsession with sex. When I was a child, my father had lovers, and I experienced seeing him. Oof. She says, listen, the fact that this woman overcame that in itself, amazing.
Can you imagine how confusing that is too when you're a little kid and you're just like, why is dad's face like that? And like, who's that woman that's not mom? Like, oh, Gross.
Is burn your brain, So it's pretty terrible. So when she was 10, she started to experience vivid hallucinations, which she's described as flashes of light, auras, and dense fields of dots, which inspired her to utilize those sort of visions, those hallucinations in her art. When she was 13, I didn't know this was a thing. She was sent to work in a military factory, because remember, she was born in 1929. So now World War II. Yep. And she made parachutes for the Japanese army.
Wow.
At 13, you guys, come on.
Wow.
So she talks about how she spent her adolescence in closed darkness. She's in a factory, and she could hear the bombs and air raid alerts going off. I have opinions about how she was raised, and my opinions are correct. I'll say that. So she went to high school, and then she went to go to study painting, Nihanga painting. It's a style of painting. I'm not an artist, full disclosure. At the Kyoto Municipal School of Arts and Crafts in 1948. She kind of quickly got frustrated with this like very distinctly Japanese style. And she became more interested in like European and American avant-garde type of art. And she staged several solo exhibitions of her paintings in Matsumoto and Tokyo in the 1950s.
Wait a minute. So she grew up with this traumatic childhood of her parents' issues. And then she started college 3 years after the end of World War II.
Yeah, I think that she was about 18. So she was like, I feel like that.
Wow.
Yeah, 18,
and then she was
19.
working in a factory when she was 13. So, wow.
Can you imagine? I mean, knowing what we know about this time, 3 years in Japan, like the idea that the world continued, that colleges were there, that high schools were running, right?
Yeah. Well, the bombs were Nagasaki and Hiroshima. So she's in Kyoto. So, but still, like all of the chaos and destruction.
Japan is small. It's small.
It is very small. Yes, it is. So I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I was just curious.
It's a good, and it's interesting how like there was art school, like because war. There's quotes like it's the obliteration of art and whatever, sort of the opposite of creation. It's destruction.
Yeah.
So that I sounded like a paper I probably wrote in college. I know, but still, I probably got a solid B on it. So she was using watercolor, oil paint, primarily on paper. And then she began covering surfaces. So walls, floors, canvases. Later, she was doing, household objects. And then later, she was let me rephrase, she was utilizing naked assistants. Yes. So she would have assistants and they were naked and she would sort of paint on them. And polka dots became very much a trademark of her work. She called them infinity nets. And she connects them directly to her hallucinations she had as a child. So she lived in Tokyo. And then when I was doing my research, it says after she lived in Tokyo and France. So I assume she went to France for a time. She then left Japan at the age of 27 for the United States. So this is like the 50s, right? Mid-50s. Mm-hmm. She had stated that she started considering Japanese society, quote, too small, too servile, too feudalistic, and too scornful of women. Mm. Okay. But, one could argue that about the United States right about now. So,
yes, all except the too small stuff, because this country is huge.
Yeah, the truth is in America, if you look at the entire country, you do have options. you do have a lot of options.
You can at least move around to a different state. Yeah.
Right. So she first moved to Seattle. She had a gallery show there. And then she moved to New York City following a correspondence with Georgia O'Keeffe, who encouraged her to do that. So she quickly established her reputation as a leader in the avant-garde movement and received praise for her work from the anarchist art critic Herbert Reed. I just love that there is an anarchist art critic.
Yeah.
Like, you're at a party. Oh, what do you do? I'm an anarchist art critic. Like, I want to have a conversation with that dude. Like,
yep, me too. Yep.
In the early 1960s, she began to create, like, she called them soft sculptures. So she'd cover items like ladders, shoes, chairs with white phallic protrusions. Now, what I just said is why I went to school to learn how to speak, because that's what theater school is. White phallic protrusions.
So dicks?
Dicks.
I'm sorry.
Big dicks, little dicks, all the possible dicks. I bet you some were carved, some were smaller than others that were like maybe a little too big. I think there were dick options.
My God.
Options of dick.
What did she call them? Phallic. What was it called?
White phallic protrusions.
Why they all gotta be white, huh? Yeah, why they all gotta be white? I'm just saying.
Okay. Heard. Okay. All right. So she not only she did them, they were very intricate, and she did them very fast. And she established a rhythm of productivity, which P.S. she still maintains. She is in her 90s, continuing to be badass. Okay.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Don't be sorry.
Sounds like she's manufacturing dildos. Is that what she's saying? Okay.
Yes,
okay,
but as art.
Okay.
You know what it is? Because they traumatized her as a child. She's taking this shit back.
Yeah.
She's taking it back. She is processing it. And she's like, you want me to see dicks? Here's a whole bunch of other dicks. I made them.
Good for her. Good for her.
Yep. I'm proud of her. She also liked having herself routinely photographed with new work that she made. And she regularly appeared in public wearing her signature bob wigs and colorful avant-garde fashions. So here's what won't surprise anybody. Okay, so she's a Japanese woman in the 60s. In June 1963, one of her pieces, which was a couch covered with phallus-like protrusions, yes, dicks, that she had sewn, and it was exhibited at the Green Gallery. So it's New York City. So other artists were exhibited with her, but her piece was the one everyone was talking about. Another artist, Oldenburg, by September, he had a piece there too, but it was not as, people didn't find it as interesting. He now exhibited sewn soft sculpture just like she had. Some pieces that were just like her pieces. So much so that his wife apologized to her at the exhibit. The argument is that he was just so inspired. Point is, he got very famous and then got lots of money, and she did not.
Of course he did. Was it a white dude?
You know what? Like, I didn't look it up, but like, yeah.
Probably,
I mean,
yeah.
She became very depressed over this. Similarly, I'm going to say this is alleged because I don't want to get in trouble. Same thing happened with Andy Warhol. Another time I'm going to use the word alleged. She did a soft sculpture with a boat. So the boat was completely covering a wall. And then Andy did the same thing with a cow. And I think I've seen the cow. So I think I know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
So she was becoming very secretive about her studio work.
As she should.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Helene Posner of the Neuberger Museum of Art said it was likely some combination of racism and sexism that kept her, who was creating work of equal importance to men who were using her ideas and taking the credit for them, from getting the same kinds of backing. So she was doing all of this stuff and people were very impressed, but she wasn't able to make any money.
Oh.
That feels like a story.
And just for our listeners because this is a podcast.
It is.
Basically, it's like, imagine like a shag carpet, but with really large, the individual like, or not even shag. You know those mops that you see with like the soft bristles that look kind of like cotton balls almost. It's kind of like that, but obviously they're larger and plumper. And she fashioned them into like chairs and other types of objects. It's quite remarkable. It looks actually quite comfortable. And then if you see the Andy Warhol one, you're like, oh yeah, that motherfucker just took her idea. Allegedly. Okay. So I'm sorry to interrupt you, but
yeah. No. I mean, look her up. She's also all over the internet too, but like okay. So I'm going to keep talking because like, I will say like I saw some of the stuff in person and it's incredible. So if you can go to there. She had a series of mirror infinity rooms, which is what I went to go see. In these, okay, I'm going to try to describe it. So they're purposely built rooms. There's mirrored glass that contains like neon colored balls, and they're at various heights. And I will say that if you're on the shorter side, you won't even notice. But if you're like a bit taller, you'll notice. Now, as a short person in the world, I appreciated being the one who didn't have to adjust for the rest of the world for like a moment. Because usually I can't reach it. Usually it's like too high and some like man has to be like, oh, let me get it down for you, little lady. And and I'm like, you know what? Thank you. But also, it's nice. It's nice. Like, nothing hit me in the head, So what it is you stand like on a platform and like a door is closed and then everywhere around you is like a complex mirrors that have like these glass bulbs, and I can't really describe it. There are pictures everywhere. It's so cool. It felt like you went on a roller coaster and you're in it for like less than a minute, but it really does feel like you've been somewhere and that you just landed. It's cool.
Wow. That sounds amazing. I have to go and see it. Is it still there?
Yeah, it's still there. Exhibit? I just went last week. I was very inspired.
Wow.
Like, obviously. So the following years she was very productive. She was doing a lot of different types of those rooms. She was experimenting with different kind of lights, different kind of mirrors, maybe some music in some of them. But she still wasn't really able to make, that money, okay? So at around, I think, the late 60s, she was hospitalized kind of on a regular basis from overwork. Georgia O'Keeffe persuaded her own dealer, Edith Herbert, to purchase several works to help her stave off financial hardship. But she was always very depressed that she could not make the money that she believed she deserved. She was correct. And at that time, she attempted suicide. So,
poor baby.
But I know it's so sad. She also in the 60s, but she didn't, and she was okay. She organized outlandish happenings in Central Park and the Brooklyn Bridge. Do you remember what happenings were?
No.
So like, okay, if you learn about like the hippies in the 60s, they would create these like happenings. I'm kind of the worst person to describe it. I don't even know. And I was like born after this happened, but it was like, yeah, it's happening. And like lots of people would go, and usually it was like a demonstration like against the Vietnam War, but it was designed to be peaceful.
So people just sort of get together, like hang out, maybe do a little performative art, play music, smoke a little weed or dope, as they called it back then, and hang out. Okay, gotcha.
Hers involved nudity. Get it, girl. Do you? So in one, she wrote an open letter to Richard Nixon offering to have sex with him if he would stop the Vietnam War.
You gotta love the 60s.
It's a lot of drugs. There were a lot of drugs.
Yeah. A lot of drugs and free love, baby. Free love.
She's like, maybe if you wanted to touch me and then we could stop this bullshit, So between 1967 and 1969, she concentrated on performances held with the maximum publicity. So usually involving her painting polka dots on her naked performers, as in the Grand Orgy to Awaken the Dead at the MoMA in 1969. Okay, MoMA. Yes.
What was it called again?
I'll say it again. Grand Orgy to Awaken the Dead at the MoMA.
Alrighty then. Okay.
Uh-huh. Yes. That is how you title a piece of art, is what I'm saying.
Baby.
This took place at the Sculpture Garden at MoMA, this Museum of Modern Art. It's in New York. And then in 1968, she presided over the happening, as another happening, called Homosexual Wedding at the Church of Self-Obliteration at 33 Walker Street in New York, and performed alongside Fleetwood Mac and Country Joe and the Fish at the Fillmore East in New York City. Okay.
So many words. Walker.
I know.
Fish Joe Eats. Fleetwood Mac. A lot of stuff.
I just want to go back. Certainly don't want to go back to that time forever, but I just like to go live there for a week. I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind
going back to be with those people with that mindset, but I'm going to need them to use a little bit more soap. I'm just going to need a little bit more body wash. But the people are cool.
Yeah, but maybe you could give them each some body wash, right? And be like, you know what's so cool? Cleanliness.
Travel back in time and give people, just hand out bars of soap.
Yeah.
Or body wash bottles of
I think body wash will get the job done quicker because you could hose them down and be like, it's part of the art. We're getting naked and we're hosing ourselves down.
Yep.
And then we're going to pour this soap all over our bodies. Yes.
Yay.
Okay. That's how you do it. She opened naked painting studios and a gay social club called the Kusama Omophile Company, which was KOK.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that.
Right? I like it too. So she's doing all this stuff. The same time, all the stuff that she is doing is very shameful to her family. Because remember, we're only 20 years out of World War II. Yeah. Her high school removed her name from its list of alumni.
Oh my God.
Right? Fucking dicks.
People.
I know. And at this point, unfortunately, she tried again to attempt suicide.
Oh no.
Yeah. But it did not succeed. Thank God. She got a better enough. And she continued to be prolific. So many pieces of art. So little time. I'm going to talk a little bit about some other pieces of art too. Listen, we would be here for 7 hours if I wanted to go through all of her art. It's too much. But I like this one. This was, I thought, worth mentioning. 1966, something called Walking Peace. Peace as in Piece. A performance that was documented in a series of 18 color slides. She walked along the streets of New York City in a traditional Japanese kimono while holding a parasol. So the kimono suggested traditional roles for women in Japanese custom. The parasol, however, it was made to look inauthentic, as it was actually a black umbrella painted white on the exterior and decorated with fake flowers. She walked down unoccupied streets in an unknown quest. She then turned and cried without reason, and eventually walked away and vanished from view. So this performance, through the use of the kimono, involved the stereotypes that Asian American women continued to face. So that was her purpose. So as an avant-garde artist living in New York, her situation altered the context of the dress, creating a cross-cultural amalgamation. So this allowed her to highlight the stereotype in which her white American audiences categorized her by showing the absurdity of culturally categorizing people in the world's largest melting pot. I love her. She would be our best friend. I'm just saying.
Yeah, she's too cool for me. I just say that much. Like, if the hair doesn't do it, like the polka dots don't do it, I'm like, that is deep, girl.
Right?
And very creative. Wow. Wow.
She really is genius. Like, she really is next level genius. So around this time in New York, she had a brief relationship with the artist Donald Judd, and then she began a passionate platonic relationship with the surrealist artist Joseph Cornell. So he was 26 years older, but it was platonic. They would talk every day. They sketched each other, and he would send her personalized collages. And they stayed like that till he died in 1972. So in 1973, she returned to Japan. Japan was still not quite ready for her. They called her a scandal queen. But she, it says she was in ill health, which I think was in regards to her mental health. However, she continued to work, and she wrote poems and novels and short stories. Again, like, if I went through everything she has done, we'll never leave. We'll never leave. So she unfortunately tried one more time to commit suicide around this time. But in 1977, she found a doctor who was using art therapy to treat mental illness in a hospital setting. She checked herself in and eventually took up permanent residence. She's still there. She still lives there.
No.
Yeah.
You know what, though? Good for her.
I know, right?
Good for her.
Like, listen, this world is hard. Find your niche. Find where it works for you. I think that's so inspirational.
Yep.
She has a studio. She can walk there. She walks there every day to do her work. And she says, quote, "If it were not for art, I would have killed myself a long time ago," which is, it's very sad, but it also speaks to how powerful art can be.
Absolutely. Wow. She's still living there.
Wow. Yeah. So, I mean, I could go on for days. I won't. You're welcome. But this is funny. So she in January 2020, the Hirshhorn announced, it's a museum, announced it would debut new Kusama acquisitions, including 2 infinity mirror rooms, at a forthcoming exhibition called One with Eternity, Yayoi Kusama, in the Hirshhorn collection. Well, the name of the exhibit is derived from an open letter she wrote to President Richard Nixon in 1968. Quote, "Let's forget ourselves, dearest Richard, and become one with the absolute, all together in the altogether." I mean, come on. That's brilliant. Brilliant.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Because I just looked up one of her pieces that she produced in 2014. It sold to a phone bidder for $62 million. So $7.9 million.
Damn.
So I hope that she is no longer struggling financially. So
she is not. Like, it is kind of it's a tough story. Her life story is, I'd say, a tough story, but it's the movie you would watch at the end, or you'd feel really good. You'd go through it, right? But she did some films. I'm not, we don't have all day, but she did a fair amount. In 1968, she had established, she still does it, the Kusama Fashion Company Limited. selling avant-garde fashion. She wore a lot of it.
That's where I know that name from. Okay, okay. It's
Marc
from the
Jacob,
fashion.
Louis Vuitton.
Yeah. Okay. I see. I see you. I see you, queen. I see you, queen.
Listen, this girl rose above. And when she went back to Japan, she kind of had to start over. Like, at least she felt that way. But, people in New York also decided to like revive her a little bit. And she became much more of an international success. Listen, it's a story of just keep going. Just keep doing your thing. It's really inspirational.
It is, but it is a hard path. It's also a testament to like going your own way. When you're like, I know I'm good at this. I may not be the best, but I'm good at this. I should be able to make my money and live my life. And that's not what society or the reality of what you're living shows you unless you keep going. So
yeah, and she fought the good fight to keep going. But she did it. She's still there. She's still in her 90s, still making art. Like, I love her so much.
And apparently, Snap has partnered with Louis Vuitton and Yayoi. Excuse me about the dog. So sorry. Of course, as soon as I get on, they start barking. With her and Louis Vuitton to bring a collection about the augmented reality on Snapchat. So
that is amazing. But since you mentioned dogs, can I also add to that? In 2009, she designed a handbag-shaped cell phone entitled, ready?
Mm-hmm.
Handbag for space travel, my doggy ring ring. It is a pink dotted phone in an accompanying dog-shaped holder. I really want to be best friends with her. I think we might have to go to Japan. Okay.
Hey, I'm always down to go to Japan.
I know that.
Yes. It's one of my favorite countries. Yes. Let's do it.
Let's go to Japan and interview her. You're in charge. You speak Japanese.
Not that good. Don't threaten me with a good time. Can I just tell you? Listen.
I hear you.
Yeah. Oh my God. If you ever get a chance, go to Japan.
Okay.
It's wonderful. Yes. Wow. That is amazing.
She's incredible.
I love her. Yayoi Kusama.
Yes.
I love her. Thank you so much for sharing that. And while I love her, you're not going to love my Notorious woman this week. Big surprise there. Okay. You know me.
Shocker of shocks. I do.
You know how I roll. So
Lord.
We are coming back from Japan, one of my favorite countries.
Okay.
Again, visit it if you can. Back to the United States of America, baby. Okay.
Okay.
America.
Okay.
To an American woman by the name of Nancy Brophy.
Okay.
I don't know if that sounds familiar to you, but yeah, it may be. Okay. So Nancy Brophy was born Nancy Crampton on June 16th, 1950 in Wichita Falls, Texas, to two lawyers.
Okay.
So from a, probably upper middle class family, depending on what kind of law they practiced. So not a lot is known by her about her early years, but we do know that she graduated from the University of Texas. And while in Texas and while in college, she actually began writing. She always was, attracted to writing, and she published one of her first articles while at college. So she graduated college in the 70s, but by the early 90s, she had moved to Oregon and then moved from Oregon to Portland. She had moved from Texas and moved to Oregon, and she actually started attending. I don't know if she just started this just like on a fluke or just to have something extra to do, but she started attending culinary classes, cooking classes at the Le Cordon Bleu College of Culinary Arts in Portland.
Okay. I have no idea where we're going with this. Go on.
I'm so glad.
I'm with you.
This is where she met her future husband, Daniel Brophy, who worked as an instructor there.
Okay.
They were close in age, but she was a little bit older than Daniel. But you know, they started dating. You know, eventually got married. And like I said, when she was back at the University of Houston, she published her first work, which was a pamphlet entitled "Between Your Navel and Your Knees," which dealt with the changing morals of sexuality in the 1960s and the 70s.
Okay. Good
So very
times.
like heady stuff. I know, yeah.
I really hope she tells me what to do with my body. Go on.
But from there, she went on to publish even more articles, mostly nonfiction for trade journals, and focused on technical writing for HR departments as a career path. So,
Okay.
you know, it's not like creative writing, which she really wanted to do. And again, according to her author's bio on Amazon, her true love in writing was storytelling, so fiction and narrative stories. So even though she wrote a novel pretty early on, she had said in her in her bio that it stayed under her bed for a long time. You know, like because again, you gotta eat, right? Especially if you're if you're the child of two lawyers, they're like, how are you gonna make money, right? So, yeah. Now, in 2003, she joined a local chapter of Romance Writers of America. And then so she turned her focus to more narrative endeavors and romance and suspense novels and novellas. So she started writing romance novels, suspense novels, and novellas with the titles like, so she had a series called The Wrong Lover, The Wrong Hero, The Wrong Husband. Okay. So, yeah. So now we're in, so we're in, you know, and this was like around 2003. So she's 53. So again, her and Daniel had a pretty, you know, normal, typical white suburban life, you know. Yeah. They probably have college degrees, you know, he's teaching at the school, continuing. That's a pretty good job. And by all accounts, he loved his job. So, you know, pretty just, you know, regular existence. And she's finally getting into writing.
Sitcom life. The sitcom life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, in one of her biographies online that featured her work, she did write about being married to Daniel. Quote, married to a chef whose mantra is life is a science project. So as a result, there are chickens and turkeys in my backyard. A fabulous vegetable garden, which also grows tobacco for an insecticide, and a hot meal on the table every night, end quote. But which sounds very lovely, right? You're like, oh, that's a lovely kind of thing.
Yeah.
Some would say that this is life goals. Some people are like, I want to get back to the earth. I often fantasize about being married to a chef because
same. And I'm married. What? No, that's not what I said. Go on.
She goes on to say in that same area about her work, quote, for those of you who have longed for this, let me caution you. The old adage is true. Be careful what you wish for. When the gods are truly angry, they grant us our wishes, end quote. Say what?
Wait, what? I don't think I could say that about my husband and it be okay. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think you'd be like, what would you say about me? Excuse me?
You said, yep.
And then he would be right. I'd be like, yeah, I'm a dick. Sorry.
Excuse me, what? But, you know, again, everyone who's been married a long time would tell you that it's not all roses. It's hard. It's work. It's, you know, but okay.
I don't know what you're talking about. It's all roses. Roses, I tell you. God damn it. I need someone to give me some roses. Sorry, go on.
So for the next 15 years to about 2018, she's writing her books. And by 2018, they had been together for 25 years. And settled into the suburbs. Daniel was 63 at the time, and then Nancy 68. Again, he continued to teach at the local Culinary Institute in Portland, where he was a respected teacher, and she continued to write her novels. And Daniel, again, was very well respected by his students, who affectionately called him Chef Brophy. So they really liked him. He had a good reputation. And though they didn't have children together, they seemed to get along with Daniel's son, Nathaniel Stillwater, from a previous relationship. So,
okay.
So her characterization seems a little off, but again, marriage is not all roses. So, but
yeah, but still, that's like it's a little aggressive.
It's a little aggressive.
I feel like, again, like if I had written that down, he would be like, "The fuck? No." And I would be like, right.
Yeah.
So I'll erase that.
Some things you just shouldn't write or say when it comes to relationships. But
exactly.
Now, again, by 2018, they're living a regular life. Now, it was later revealed that although her books were very, very popular, and I will say this, I know this from personal experience. I had an old roommate who self-published online on Amazon as well. And there definitely is like a algorithm that has to be in your favor, but she made really good money, really good money for a long time.
Nice.
But then I'd heard maybe about 5 years ago that Amazon had changed up their algorithm because so many self-published authors were actually making really good money.
And they didn't like that?
I don't know if they didn't like it or it's just something that Amazon does, is that they change up the algorithm, but so I don't know whatever, I lost touch with that friend, but again, for a good solid year, she's making a lot of money, like really great money.
Okay. I wouldn't mind making really great money for a year.
Yeah, really great money.
Stash
and
it
she
away,
did have exactly, you got to stash it away. But she didn't have, she like Nancy also had like a series, because that's the deal. You can't just have one book, you have to have multiple books.
Right.
So, now, so around this time, this is 2018, Nancy's books were still popular, but they weren't big sellers. So money became tight for the couple. Because I would imagine she left her traditional job to focus on writing. Yeah. And then if the same thing sort of happened to her that I'd heard happened to other self-publishing writers, then maybe the money was cut in half or just kind of dried up. And so the two had began selling Medicare insurance to generate some extra income. And Daniel even cashed in part of his retirement savings to pay off credit cards. So not too unusual. This is not, especially after the crash and all this other stuff. People, sometimes it's hard, especially when you're older and you've worked so long, to cut down on your costs, your overhead costs. And but again, they're doing fine. Not great, but fine. Again, these are, they're middle-aged at this point. So, but on June 2nd, 2018, Daniel went to work as usual, and they think he arrived around 7:20 a.m. to start prepping for the day. But less than an hour later, so let's say around 8, when students entered the kitchen, they discovered Daniel on the floor bleeding from 2 gunshot wounds.
What the fuck?
They called 911. And they tried to desperately save him with CPR, but the bullet had pierced his spine and his heart, so he was pronounced dead. An autopsy later revealed that he had been shot once in the back and then a second time in the chest at close range while he was lying defenseless on the kitchen floor.
Holy fuck.
So a lot going on, right? And again, these people are in their 60s. So now, he was loved by his students, so of course they were shocked, and there was a vigil shortly after outside of the school where he taught for decades. And all of the students remembered what an inspiring instructor he was. He had a good sense of humor, and they also credited him with having shaped their career. So everything a teacher's wildest dreams come true, right? He was very well respected, and he helped a lot of young people. And Nancy, too, was at the vigil, and she had said, quote, at the vigil, Daniel was one of the few people I've ever known who did exactly what he wanted in life and loved doing it. He was a person who did what he loved. He loved teaching. He loved mushrooms. He loved his family, end quote.
Okay.
So
I'm not trusting her. Go on.
Well, you have good reason to, because the neighbors were like, some smells fishy in the water, bitch. Because according to them, some of her neighbors, they were like, she didn't seem that upset by her husband or her partner of 25 years being killed and murdered.
Yeah.
She didn't, but what she did seem was eager. She didn't seem upset, but she seemed eager to apply for Daniel's $1.4 million life insurance policy.
Oh, this bitch. Okay.
Which she
Wow.
tried to access within days of his murder. She had asked the police for a letter to give to the insurance company that would confirm that she wasn't a suspect in his death to satisfy the policy details. Yeah, you heard it. $1.4 million. Dollars.
Okay.
Of course, the police are like, well, you weren't a suspect, but you may be now because what the fuck? They refused.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, they became suspicious, but later on they were like, yeah, it's usually a spouse when someone dies, a spouse or partner. But when she called them, just bold-faced and was like, I need a letter saying I'm not a suspect so I can get the $1.4 million.
Hey, yeah, my husband was killed a couple of days ago. Listen, I need a favor. If you could just... Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So imagine they're like, you. So they start digging into the background, the couple's background. They found out they were having some financial worries, and Daniel had taken out about $35,000 from his retirement account, which was about half to catch up on mortgage and credit card payments. So, yeah, ding, 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 ding. The red, yeah. Pretty fucking
I have an
suspicious.
idea. I could murder him and then get his life insurance.
But I will say, this is not something you would expect, because when you see her and you hear her speak, she looks like she could be your teacher, just like a middle-aged, middle of the road, Midwestern white lady, plump, just what you would think. What's in your head is what she looks like. So
it's like your neighbor in the Midwest, who bakes you a casserole when you need one. I don't know.
So investigators, they searched the home and they also searched her computers, and they discovered that she had bought a, quote, ghost gun, a firearm you build at home from a kit that is considered untraceable because it's made from different parts. And although it appeared that she did struggle to assemble it, they found another possible plan. According to investigators, she then bought a 9mm Glock pistol.
Oh.
It was the same type as the one that killed Daniel.
Wow.
But they believed that she had replaced the slide and barrel with one from another thing that she had bought online, which would match the murder weapon to kind of throw people off.
Listen, this Midwest-like white lady not only just investigated and analyzed these possibilities, she invested. For someone who's got, $60K in credit card debt, I'm just saying.
But Miriam, she has an explanation for this.
Oh, please.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm ready. Yes.
So she said that, yeah, you're right. I got the ghost gun, but I never built it. And we do have a Glock, a 9mm Glock that we stored. But she said on the morning that Daniel was killed, she walked the dogs and had a shower. But the surveillance footage of her that showed her driving around in their minivan to the Institute and back, she's like, I don't know how. I must have blacked out. I don't know how that happened. And so she said she must have forgotten due to the trauma of Daniel's death. So.
The trauma.
But.
Of that time I killed him. What?
And also, it's so funny. I watched a part of her testimony also, because obviously this went to trial. And she said that all of this stuff, all of the searches and the guns was just for research for her books.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Yes. I understand. That makes sense. I remember getting real swords when I had to do sword play in Shakespeare productions.
Well,
But what does a real sword feel like with an actual edge as I point it to a person? I must know.
Miriam, I think you are being unfair to Nancy, okay? Because I get it. She's right. I watched Murder, She Wrote. I've watched it several times, all of the episodes. I've seen Jessica run through the thing in her book she's writing, all right? But there's just one thing. There's one difference between her and Jessica Fletcher.
What? What is it?
Right? So apparently back in 2011, Nancy wrote an essay called How to Murder Your Husband.
What? No, stop it. She didn't. She did? Oh my God.
She discusses how to commit an untraceable murder and consider the pros and cons of killing your spouse. And it said, quote, one of the things she said in this essay, quote, as a romantic suspense writer, I spend a lot of time thinking about murder and consequently about police procedure. If the murder is supposed to set me free, I certainly don't want to spend any time in jail. In the since deleted post, she added, the thing I know about murder is that every one of us has it in him/her when pushed far enough, end quote.
Oh my God. Oh my God. I don't know what to do with what you just said. Wow.
Yes.
When pushed, meaning I want your money? That's how you were pushed? Like, yes, maybe life or death. You're about to fall off a cliff. You pull some. Sure. No, no, girl. No, girl. Wow.
So the cops are like you. They're like, okay, stop it that. So they arrested her about 3 months after Daniel's death, murder.
Mm-hmm.
She was arrested
Correct.
and arraigned on charges of murder and unlawful use of a gun.
Okay.
Now, it went to trial, of course. And basically, the prosecution said that she killed Daniel to get ownership of not only the $1.4 million in insurance money, but also their $300,000 house, which would be a nice house in other states besides California.
Yeah. Listen, didn't she read the essay that she wrote as to how to do this? Because she gave such good advice, I guess.
Yep. Now, she said that she's like, that's not true. I would have been better off if he were alive because we could cash in more of his retirement and we were planning to downsize anyway. So we would sell off the house and have money to live off of. And that, again, like I said, the ghost gun and all of that was research for a new novel about a woman in a toxic relationship who was slowly buying gun parts. So that was all research. She said that the Glock she had given to Daniel to protect himself while foraging. Because, these Midwestern white people,
Yeah. Yeah, they love a gun. Yeah.
Yep. But again, the fact that she bought a Glock and Daniel was shot with a Glock, which police testified at the trial that he was most likely shot with a Glock pistol, the same brand of parts that she had purchased. So now her defense said it could have been a robbery gone wrong. And that it was just a coincidence, a coinkydink that Nancy was near the school that morning. Doesn't see here.
Yeah. She was like going for a random drive she usually doesn't do ever.
Yeah.
Just because.
Yeah. And so you know how she also said she had no memory of like driving around, even though surveillance cameras. She and a psychologist during the trial that was called by the defense said that she suffered from, quote, retrograde amnesia from the trauma of finding out her husband had been murdered.
Yes,
so
me too.
She just forgot.
Every time I didn't do that thing I was supposed to do, it's because I have retrograde amnesia. So sorry about that.
But it's so interesting because again, I watch, and you can watch a lot of this. I got a lot of my sources are from news articles, news reports, and also court TV footage. And so I watched her testimony, and it's interesting because there's a bit of like a know-it-all quality about her, perhaps because she's a writer, a novelist, but she's very calm. And she was like, "No, I bought this for research. I would never do this to Dan," and and just very like you and I were just like, "Come on, lady, come on."
Yeah, I just like if something that like that happened to, God forbid, my husband, I would just be inconsolable, like not okay. I wouldn't be like I wouldn't be okay. I do love him. Like I don't like to admit that because then I feel like he can, has power over me. But like I do love him. Fine, there, I said it. Happy, everyone.
And you wouldn't be, if anything, you would probably be you'd be like, "Are you kidding me? I loved my husband." Like you'd be upset the accusation of them accusing you. She was very calm. Again, you can't always tell what people have done by their reaction. We're all different. human beings are very unique, each and every one of us. So, but it's just very interesting. I encourage you guys to go and check out any kind of footage. You can find it on YouTube. Just put in her name, Nancy Brophy. But yeah, it all sounds suspect and unbelievable. And it sounds that way to us, and it sounded that way to the jury, because on May 25th, 2022, after 7 weeks of a trial, the jury unanimously found her guilty of second-degree murder, which I find interesting that it was second-degree murder, because this definitely sounds like it was planned, allegedly. Now, in June, the following month, Nancy was sentenced, and Dan's loved ones got to speak. His grieving son, remember he has a son, Nathaniel.
Oh, right.
He said in a statement, quote, to Nancy, "You are a monster. You opted to lie, steal, cheat. You ultimately killed the man that was, for some reason, still unbeknownst to me, your biggest fan. You executed my father in an act of cold-blooded, premeditated murder. The man did everything for you," end quote.
Oof.
I mean,
damn.
Yeah. What he said. Now the judge sentenced her. She was 72 at the time, to life in prison, and told her that she would be eligible for parole in 25 years. So she's currently serving her sentence at the Coffee Creek Correctional Facility in Wilsonville, Oregon. Now, while she would insist that her piece about killing your husband, how to get away with murder, was simply a make-believe, her about section on her website suggested otherwise. Quote, "Writers are liars," she said. "I don't remember who said that, but it's not true. In writing fiction, you dig deep and unearth portions of your life that you've long forgotten or buried deep." End quote. Now, as you can imagine, this is an unbelievable story.
Yeah.
So, of course, Lifetime is coming a calling, and they created a movie starring Sybil Shepherd.
Yes.
Called How to
Oh.
Murder Your Husband, the Nancy Brophy story. So,
I'm ready to watch it.
So
I'm ready to watch it now.
Now, I heard, don't get her mixed up with the younger woman who recently also got arrested for murdering her husband.
Oh my God, you guys stop murdering your husbands.
Because at first I was like, what would be good for this week? And so I put in that search, author murders husband. I got so many hits. Many hits. But this one I remember in particular because everyone was so in disbelief that she is like a middle-aged older woman. And by all accounts, her husband was not abusive. He's a very kind-hearted, loving man. I don't understand. Is it like, was it a sociopath or psychopath?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know the difference.
Narcissistic sociopath. Though some of those words put together. Personality disorder. I mean, we've all been mad at people.
But I know. Like, we've all been mad at our partners where you're like, I want to kill that motherfucker.
But like, you don't actually want to kill them.
And also, you don't buy a ghost gun.
No.
And then you don't go and get a Glock.
Yeah. Also,
you don't plan it. Like, you don't. After this man, you know what I think? I think what happened is that she had given up. She had worked in jobs that she hated, which, creative people can relate to for a long time. She finally made the move to writing for a living and was doing well at first, but then maybe the money dried up and it got more difficult. And she didn't want to go back to the regular workforce, which I get. It's hard to go back. And
sure, so just kill your husband and then you'll get money. That's good. Yeah, option B.
Yeah, because that's the thing. Because allegedly, even though they were struggling with, credit card debt, which they probably got because, her books weren't making money anymore and she needed to buy, because he's been working at this job forever. So you know how much he's making, right? So the fact that he took out half of his retirement amount, which at their age, that's a gamble of $35,000.
Yeah.
And you repay him now, allegedly, they were having financial troubles, but she kept up the payments on that life insurance policy.
Oh, shit.
So, and yeah, again, just sell the house, you know.
I was just going to say, sell the house, get a small apartment.
Get a condo.
Pay it off.
Yeah.
You get a condo. A nice condo.
A nice
You'll
condo.
still pay off your bills.
But I would imagine that, I don't know for sure, but it just, watching her in her testimony, and after his son's statement, it makes me think that he adored his wife. He supported her, and he was like, well, this is what we got to do. And she repaid him by killing him for the life insurance policy. Like, this is, I mean, we can't even say allegedly because she was convicted of killing him.
Yeah, I don't think we have to. She's convicted.
But it's so weird. And when you see her, she looks like she could be your teacher, your favorite teacher from high school. Who was already kind of old to you then, and then you look back. Imagine if like your teacher, like your history teacher or your English teacher killed her husband. You would just be like,
yeah, I
what?
Can't do that. Yeah. It's shocking.
Crazy.
But also, like, she thought she would have been good at it. She even wrote a whole article being like, this is how you do it. And then here she is, caught.
That part.
Unanimously convicted.
Also, I'm thinking, like, I mean, I know you don't hire somebody because you don't want to have somebody that you might have to bump off, but like, don't you think they have surveillance cameras in the area? Like, you didn't even rent a different car.
At
like,
the college?
Yeah. Like, and also if you are an expert and you know police procedure, you know that they always look at the partner. That's always the first suspect.
That's the number one suspect. How many Murdoch mysteries do I need to watch? So many is the answer, by the way. Right? It's always talk to the spouse first.
Yeah,
I'm on season 10. It's a problem. Go on. Sorry.
That's Law and Order 101, baby.
Yeah. Okay. You've seen 20 seasons of that.
Like, and she doesn't. I think I was just so blown away by like how amateurish it was. Like,
yeah, I mean, like, you wrote the book on it, but like, did you?
Well, you know what though? I hate to say this, but this is like mediocre white people nonsense because I feel like.
Go on.
I feel like. I mean, dumb criminals come in all ilks, but this is an author. This is like a woman. This woman has a degree. This is a solidly middle class, college degreed woman. So she's thinking, I've been writing these books. Like, I know what I'm doing. Yeah. But like you said, she wrote an essay on how to murder your husband. And this is what she came up with. Like,
I know. Listen, here's the thing though. When you're like that level white suburban woman, you are told that you go to college and then you'll get a job and then your career will grow and grow and grow and success is inevitable. And I think she was like, what the fuck? Yeah. Actual life? No, thank you. And then did what she had to do. That's what I think.
Yeah, it's just like, I mean, the essay, How to Murder Your Husband, is from back in 2011. So has she been thinking about 7 years how to murder her husband?
I mean, allegedly, yes. You know,
like, and that, again, that's what she came up with. Like, I'm going to just buy like a ghost gun and like a Glock and they can trace it back to me. And I'm going to drive around the school.
I will say this. You've dealt with people who are like clearly narcissists, right?
Yeah, yeah.
We all have. One of the things they all have in common is that they're very, very charming. They're very charming. So she probably had her husband eating out of the palm of her hands.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
When you watch her, you're like, yeah, this woman's not charming. But that's even sadder because he loved her anyway.
Yeah, but
obviously,
she
he
knew
loved
how
her.
to do what she needed to do for him to get him, you know. Like maybe he didn't want to take out half his retirement at the age of 68.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They did. He did. You know, I'm just throwing that out there. Probably it was her idea.
Yeah. No, it definitely was her idea. He's probably thinking, well, this is what you do with your family. That's what it's there for. Like, you know, I'll just work a little bit longer into retirement and we'll make it up. Like, That's probably what he was thinking. Like, who knows? We don't know. You know why? Because poor Dan is not here to tell us, because this bitch was convicted of killing her husband. Like, so, I mean, this is crazy.
This story, girl.
Like, I know. I mean, that's my notorious woman, Nancy Brophy. Like, normally I'm like, I like a murderess, but not this. I hate it though when these, also, as a woman who's dated men, it is so hard to find a decent, kind man who would take out half of his retirement for you, and then you repay him by killing him. Get the fuck out of here.
Stop fucking it up for the rest of us, you know?
Stop fucking it up for the rest of us. 25 years they were together.
Damn.
That is so fucked up. Talk about fucking notorious.
Yeah, dude.
Nancy Brophy. So
okay.
So go and kiss your husband.
I'm gonna.
And your kids.
I'm gonna.
And same to you, listeners. If you have, go and kiss your significant other. Hopefully they are nice to you. And if they're not, find someone who is. But don't kill them. Yeah.
Don't kill them.
Don't kill them.
But, you know, walk away. You know.
Walk away. We don't want to cover you on this podcast.
No. Try not to be that version of Notorious.
Exactly. Well, that wraps it up for another episode of Notorious Women Podcast. Guys, remember to follow us if you can. Not if you can, just do it. Do it. Follow us on all the things, on Instagram. Download and recommend our podcast to your friends. Please give us a 5-star review.
Yes, that helps get the word out.
Helps get the word out. And again, we always say, don't just tell your friend about Notorious Women Podcast. Copy the link and then send it to your friend.
Just
email it, text it, send it by pigeon.
Pigeon's good. Yeah.
Tweet it. Do what you got to do to get your friend to listen to it. I mean, that's all we're asking, right?
No big deal.
That's all we're asking. Yeah. And also, if you want to further support us financially, you can become a patron of Notorious Women on patreon.com. That's patreon.com/Notorious Women. And Miriam, how else can they find Notorious Women?
You guys, follow us on Instagram. It's so easy. Notorious Women Podcast. It's a fun, good time. Let me highly recommend. Also, you know, sometimes the people that we don't want find us there, and then they argue us, and then we argue back. So come join us, right? And if it's too, you know, like, we watch it. We watch it, for goodness. But it's fun. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And we also have an email. So it's notoriouswmpod@gmail.com. So you can email us there any ideas, thoughts, reactions, extra things about women we've talked about. You can also DM us. Either way works. And that is that. Yeah.
So, and again, thank you for joining us every week. We really appreciate you guys. We love the support. We love you back. And we will see you guys next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.